Hello, and welcome back to Sleeping Gift. Tonight, allow me to share a story to accompany you as you drift off to sleep. Before we go any further, take a slow and gentle breath. Let the calm air fill your chest, then slowly exhale. Release every burden you have been carrying. Let your imagination gently guide you into this story. Now, let's begin the story. Breathe in, breathe out, and let me take you away for a moment into a story. Gentle rain sleep story on a quiet balcony. Deep sleep and anxiety relief. Before we enter this story, take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Now, it is time for us to step into this journey. The balcony door opens with a quiet, familiar ease, as though it has been waiting all day for this small, unhurried moment, and the air that slips inside carries with it a softness that feels neither cool nor warm, but simply present, like a gentle hand resting lightly against the edge of the evening. The city is still awake, though not in a hurried way. It hums rather than speaks. Far below, faint threads of sound drift upward, distant tires rolling over dampening streets, a door closing somewhere. The low murmur of voices that do not reach far enough to become words. Each sound arrives slowly, as if it has traveled a long distance just to settle here on this small balcony and rest. A chair waits near the railing, its surface smooth and slightly cool, holding the last traces of the day. The fabric of a light blanket drapes over one side, soft and familiar, carrying the faint warmth of having been touched before. When you sit, the chair accepts your weight without protest, easing into stillness with you, as though it understands that nothing more is required. Above, the sky has not yet decided to darken fully. It lingers in that quiet space between colors, where pale blue dissolves into something deeper, and the first signs of evening gather without urgency. A few windows in the buildings across the way glow with warm light, soft rectangles suspended in the growing dimness, each one steady, each one unchanging. The railing is cool beneath your hands. When your fingers rest there, they do not need to grip or hold on tightly. They simply remain, feeling the quiet presence of the metal, the way it has absorbed the day and now slowly releases it back into the air. There is a small table beside the chair. A cup rests there, untouched for now, its surface catching a trace of the fading light. The scent rising from it is gentle, almost unnoticeable, but steady, something warm, something familiar, something that does not ask for attention. The air moves again, just slightly, brushing past your face and then continuing on, as if it has somewhere else to be but is in no hurry to arrive. It carries with it the faintest suggestion of rain, not yet falling, but waiting, gathering somewhere beyond sight. Breath comes in slowly and then leaves just as slowly, without effort, without intention. In and then out. The rhythm settles on its own, matching something in the quiet around you. In and then out. The body does not need to be reminded. It already already knows. The city continues to soften. Lights appear one by one, not all at once, but gradually, like distant stars deciding to show themselves. A window brightens, another follows, then another. None of them hurry, none of them compete. Somewhere, a clock ticks inside the apartment, faint and steady, its sound just barely reaching the balcony when the air shifts in the right way. It marks time, but not in a way that feels urgent, just a quiet acknowledgement that moments are passing gently, one after another. The sky dims a little more, the air cools a little more, and everything, every light, every distant sound, every slow breath begins to settle into a softer rhythm, as though the night is not arriving all at once, but instead unfolding layer by layer, in no particular rush at all. And you remain there, seated, with the chair beneath you, the railing beneath your hands, the quiet city stretching outward, and the first quiet hint of rain waiting patiently somewhere beyond the horizon, not yet falling, but already part of the evening. The cup on the small table waits without expectation, its warmth held quietly within its curved sides, as though it understands that it will be lifted when the moment feels right, and not a moment before. When your hand reaches for it, the movement is slow and unforced, fingers curling gently around its surface, feeling the soft heat that has not yet faded. The warmth settles into your palm, steady and calm, and for a while the cup remains there, held but not lifted, as if simply holding it is enough. The scent drifts upward again, faint and familiar, and the air around it seems to pause just slightly, to let it pass. Somewhere below, a car moves along the street, its sound stretching thin as it travels farther away, becoming softer and softer until it disappears completely, leaving behind a quiet space that feels a little deeper than before. In that space, another sound takes its place, perhaps the rustle of leaves or the distant closing of a window, but even that fades quickly, as though the city is gently practicing how to be still. The cup rises slowly now, guided without effort, and when it reaches your lips, the warmth lingers just before the first sip, as if allowing a small moment to gather. The taste is soft, neither too strong nor too faint, something that settles easily, something that does not demand attention, but quietly receives it. Then the cup lowers again, returning to its place on the table with a careful, nearly soundless touch. The blanket shifts slightly as you move, its fabric brushing against your arm in a way that feels smooth and reassuring. It rests lightly across your lap now, not tightly wrapped, just placed there, offering warmth without weight. The sky continues its slow transition. The pale edges of evening deepen into a softer shade, and the first true hints of night begin to settle in. The buildings across the way seem less defined now, their edges softened, their shapes blending gently into one another. Only the windows remain clear, each one a quiet, steady glow. Another breath comes and then out, in, and then out again. The rhythm is unchanged, but something about it feels even slower now, as though each breath takes a little more time to arrive, a little more time to leave. A faint tapping sound begins somewhere in the distance. Not rain yet, but something close to it. Perhaps a single drop finding its way to a surface far away, or the smallest shift in the air brushing against something unseen. It comes once, and then again, with long pauses in between, as if it is still deciding whether to continue. The balcony holds everything gently: the chair, the table, the cup, the quiet presence of your breathing, and nothing feels out of place. Even the silence has a kind of texture, soft and steady, like the surface of still water that has not yet been disturbed. A light turns off in one of the distant windows, then another a little farther away. Not all at once, not suddenly, but one by one, each fading into darkness, as if following a quiet signal that only they can sense. The air shifts again, slightly cooler now, carrying a clearer trace of rain, still distant, still patient. Your hand rests once more on the railing, fingers loose, unmoving, feeling the cool surface that seems to have settled into the evening just as you have. There is no need to adjust, no need to change position. Everything has already found its place. The cup remains nearby, still warm. The blanket remains soft across your lap. The city continues its slow, unhurried descent into quiet. And somewhere beyond the dimming sky, the rain waits, a little closer now, though still not yet falling, as the night gently deepens, breath by breath. The air settles a little more deeply around you now, as though it has found a quieter place to rest, and in that stillness, even the smallest movements begin to feel more noticeable, more complete, like each one carries its own quiet shape before gently fading into the next. Your fingers shift slightly against the railing, not to adjust, but simply to feel the coolness in a different way, tracing along the smooth surface without intention. The metal holds a steady temperature now, no longer carrying the warmth of the day, but not cold either, just calm, just present. Below, the city continues to soften in its own unspoken rhythm. A final few cars pass through the streets, their sounds spaced farther apart now, each one leaving behind a longer stretch of quiet than the last. The spaces between sounds grow wider, more open, like slow breaths taken by something vast and unseen. The cup on the table has cooled just a little. When you lift it again, the warmth is still there, but gentler now, closer to the temperature of your own hands. The motion is unhurried, the same as before, and when the cup meets your lips, the taste feels softer, as though it, too, has settled into the evening. A single drop of rain arrives. It lands somewhere beyond the railing. It sounds so faint it might almost be imagined. A soft tap that disappears as soon as it comes. Then there is nothing again, just the quiet, just the waiting. Your breath continues. in slowly, and then out just as slowly. There is a slight pause between each one now, not deliberate, not forced, just a natural stillness that appears on its own, like a moment of rest between gentle waves. The blanket shifts again, almost imperceptibly, as your body settles deeper into the chair. The fabric folds into itself, soft edges resting against your knees, holding a quiet warmth that spreads slowly, without urgency. Another drop of rain follows, then another. Each one arrives with space between, never hurried, never overlapping, as though they are learning the rhythm of the night, one by one. Across the way, fewer windows remain lit now. The glow that once dotted the buildings has thinned, leaving only a handful of lights suspended in the darkness. They feel more distant now, not because they have moved, but because everything else around them has softened. The sky has deepened into a darker shade, though not fully black. There is still a trace of color lingering, a quiet memory of the day that has not yet completely faded. Your hand lowers from the railing and comes to rest in your lap, brushing lightly against the blanket. The movement is small, almost unnecessary, but it completes itself gently without interruption. The balcony feels more enclosed now, not by walls, but by stillness. The space holds its shape more clearly, as though the quiet itself has formed something soft around you, something that keeps everything in place. The rain continues its slow beginning. Tap, a pause, then tap again. Each drop separate, each one distinct, yet all part of the same unfolding pattern that has no need to rush forward. Somewhere inside, the faint ticking of the clock continues, steady and even, but it feels farther away now, less connected to the moment, as though time itself is softened along with everything else. Your breathing follows its gentle rhythm, in and then out. The pauses between grow just a little longer. The movements grow just a little slower. And the evening, now leaning fully into night, continues to settle around you, layer by quiet layer, as the first scattered drops of rain begin to find their place in the silence. The rain gathers itself in no particular hurry, each drop arriving as if it has taken its time to find its way here, touching the balcony, the railing, the distant surfaces below, and then disappearing into the quiet it leaves behind. Tap, a pause, then another soft tap somewhere just out of sight. The rhythm is gentle and unbroken, though never quite regular, like a pattern that forms and reshapes itself without needing to be noticed. It does not ask to be followed. It simply continues, slowly filling the spaces between breaths, between thoughts, between the fading sounds of the city. The cup rests again on the table, its warmth now faint, but still present in a quieter way, as though it has settled into itself. When your fingers brush against it, there is no need to lift it this time. The touch alone is enough, a brief acknowledgement before your hand returns to stillness. The blanket lies softly across your lap, its edges unmoving now, as though it has found its final position for the evening. The fabric holds its warmth gently, and where it meets your hands, there is a sense of continuity, as if nothing has changed, and yet everything has softened just slightly. Another drop of rain, then two, spaced apart, and then three, arriving with a little less distance between them. The sound begins to form something more continuous now, though still delicate, still light, like a quiet conversation between the sky and the surfaces below. A memory drifts in, not suddenly, not sharply, but like a faint reflection passing across still water. It is not tied to a specific time, nor to a clear place, but rather to a feeling, sitting somewhere quiet, much like this, with a similar air, a similar softness in the light, perhaps a window instead of a balcony, or a different evening altogether. But the details do not hold. They do not need to. The memory does not stay long. It lingers just enough to be noticed, then begins to fade, dissolving gently back into the present, leaving no sharp edges behind. Your breath continues, in, slow and steady, out just as gently. The pauses between each breath feel a little wider now, like soft spaces that hold nothing but quiet. The city below has nearly come to rest. The occasional sound still appears. A distant engine, a door closing, a voice too far away to understand. But each one feels softer than before, as though wrapped in the same calm that has settled over everything. More windows have gone dark. Only a few remain lit now. Small islands of warm light suspended in the distance. They do not flicker. They do not change. They simply exist, steady and quiet. The rain becomes just a little more frequent. Tap, tap, pause, tap. It touches the railing lightly, creating the faintest variation in sound when it lands there. A soft, almost hollow note that blends easily into the rest. Some drops find the edge of the balcony floor, others disappear into places unseen, each one part of the same gentle unfolding. Your body settles deeper into the chair, not through movement, but through stillness itself. The weight of it feels evenly held, supported without effort, as though the chair has adjusted in its own quiet way to meet you exactly where you are. The air carries the scent of rain more clearly now, fresh and soft, filling the space without overwhelming it. It lingers just enough to be noticed, then blends into the background, becoming part of the steady calm. The sky has darkened further, the last traces of evening nearly gone. What remains is a deep, quiet shade that stretches without interruption, holding the soft glow of the few remaining windows below. Another breath comes, and then goes. The rhythm remains unchanged, yet feels slower still, as though time itself has eased into a gentler pace. The memory that passed earlier does not return. Nothing replaces it. There is only the present moment now. The chair, the railing, the blanket, the quiet rain beginning to find its voice, and the steady, unbroken flow of breath moving in and out as the night continues to deepen, softly, without end. The rain settles into a quieter kind of presence now, no longer just arriving drop by drop, but gently weaving itself into the air, into the surfaces, into the spaces between everything. It does not fall heavily. It simply continues, soft and steady, as though it has always been there and is only now being noticed. Tap, tap, tap. Then a pause that is not empty, but filled with a kind of softness that lingers even after the sound fades. Your breathing becomes easier to feel, not louder, not deeper, just clearer. In, a slow, quiet rise, and then out, a gentle release, like something loosening without effort. And the pauses between each breath stretch slightly, not in a way that feels long, but in a way that feels open, like a small space where nothing needs to happen. Your hands rest still now, one against the blanket, the other near the edge of the chair. No movement asks to be made. The body has already found its place. The cup remains untouched on the table. Its warmth has softened into something faint, barely there, yet still present in a way that feels complete, as though it has given what it needed to give, and now rests quietly in return. The city below has grown quieter still. The spaces between sounds are longer now. A distant car passes, but its presence fades almost immediately, leaving behind a silence that feels deeper than before. A window closes somewhere far away, the sound barely reaching this height, dissolving as it rises. Even the lights seem quieter. Only a few remain, and they glow with a steady calm that does not flicker or change. They simply hold their place in the distance, soft and constant. The rain continues, light, unhurried, each drop part of a larger stillness. The railing beneath your hand carries a faint trace of moisture now. When your fingers shift slightly, they notice it, not as something cold, but as something gentle, like the quiet touch of the rain resting there. The air feels fuller, not heavy, just complete. It wraps softly around your shoulders, around your arms, around the stillness of your posture, without pressing, without pulling. Another breath, in and then out. The rhythm remains steady but softer now, as though each breath dissolves a little more completely before the next begins. Inside, the faint ticking of the clock continues, though it feels very far away now, almost separate from this space. It marks time somewhere else, while here, on the balcony, time has begun to feel less defined. The blanket holds its warmth, the chair holds its shape, the table, the cup, the railing, all remain exactly where they are, unchanged, steady, quiet. The rain becomes a little more continuous, not louder, just closer together, a soft, delicate pattern that fills the background without drawing attention. Tap, 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 then softer still, until the individual drops begin to blend into something smoother, something more even. Your shoulders rest a little deeper. Your hands remain still. Your breath continues, slow and unbroken, in. Nothing interrupts it. Nothing needs to. The night has settled now fully, completely, and within it everything feels held in the same quiet balance. The rain, the distant lights, the soft air, the stillness of your body, and the gentle rhythm of breathing that continues, steady and calm, as if it could go on like this without ever needing to change. The rain no longer arrives in separate moments. It has become something continuous now, a soft and steady presence that rests across the balcony, across the railing, across the distant streets below, like a thin, quiet veil that does not obscure anything, but gently softens the edges of everything it touches. The sound is even, a quiet, unbroken pattern, not loud, not distant, just there. It settles into the background so completely that it begins to feel like part of the breath itself, rising and falling in a way that is almost too subtle to note it. In a soft, silent rise out, a gentle, quiet release, and beneath it, the rain continues, steady and calm. Your hand remains where it is, resting lightly against the blanket. The fabric feels the same as before, smooth, warm, undisturbed, and yet there is a sense that it has softened even further, as though time itself has passed through it, leaving it quieter, more settled. The railing holds a thin trace of moisture now. When your fingers brush against it, the sensation is delicate, almost like touching the surface of still water. The movement is small, nearly imperceptible, and when it ends, stillness returns immediately. Across the way, only 1 or 2 windows remain lit. They do not draw attention. They simply exist, faint and steady, like distant markers in the quiet. Everything else has dimmed. The outlines of the buildings have softened into the night, their shapes blending gently into the darkness, as though they are slowly becoming part of it. The sky above is deep now, not empty, just quiet. It stretches without interruption, holding the soft, continuous fall of rain within it. Another breath comes and then goes. The pauses between feel wider, though time itself does not seem to pass in the same way anymore. Each moment lingers just slightly longer than the last, as though the night is unfolding more slowly with every passing second. The cup on the table is still. No steam rises now. No warmth reaches outward, and yet it remains complete, unchanged in its place, as though it belongs to the stillness just as much as everything else. The chair supports without being felt. The body rests without needing to adjust. Even the smallest shifts have faded away. There is no need for them now. The rain continues, soft, even, unbroken. It touches the railing, the floor, the unseen surfaces below, creating a quiet, layered sound that blends into itself, smoothing over any edges that might remain. Somewhere, faintly, a single drop falls from the edge of the roof above, landing with a slightly different tone, a soft variation in the pattern. It happens once, then again, much later, and then it too becomes part of the background, no longer separate, no longer distinct. Your breathing remains steady. In, out, each breath dissolves more completely before the next begins. The space between them feels like a gentle pause that holds everything in place. The air is cool now, but not cold. It rests lightly against your skin, carrying the quiet scent of rain, the faint trace of the city, the soft stillness of the night. Nothing changes, and yet everything feels softer. The lights in the distance remain. The rain continues. The chair, the blanket, the railing all remain exactly as they are. And within this steady, unbroken calm, the sense of time drifts further away, leaving only the quiet rhythm of breath and rain moving together, slowly, without beginning, without end. The night has settled so completely now that even the idea of movement feels distant, as though it belongs to another time, another place, And what remains here is something softer, something quieter, something that does not need to change in order to continue. The rain continues its gentle, unbroken fall. It no longer asks to be heard. It simply is a soft presence, constant and calm, spreading evenly across everything: the railing, the balcony floor, the quiet streets below, until all of it feels connected by the same delicate sound. Your hands remain still, one resting lightly against the blanket, the other near the edge of the chair. There is no need to shift them. They have already found their place. The blanket holds its warmth in a quiet, steady way, not fading, not growing, just remaining as it is, like a small, consistent comfort that does not need attention to continue. Your shoulders feel heavier now, not with weight, but with ease, as though they have slowly released something they had been holding without noticing, settling deeper into a natural, effortless rest. Breath moves gently. In, a soft rise that feels almost weightless. Out, a quiet release that leaves no trace behind. The pause between grows wider still, not empty, just open. Across the way, the final lights have dimmed. Where there were once small, glowing windows, there is now only darkness, soft and complete, blending seamlessly with the rest of the night. The buildings no longer stand apart from the sky. They have become part of it, a single shape, quiet and still. The railing beneath your fingers carries the faint, steady presence of rain, each drop joining the next without interruption, forming a smooth, almost continuous surface that reflects nothing, holds nothing, and yet feels complete. There is a sense, very faint, almost unnoticeable, that the rain and the breath have begun to move together, not in perfect rhythm, not in any pattern that could be followed, but in a way that feels aligned, as though both belong to the same quiet unfolding. The cup on the table remains untouched. Its presence is softer now, less defined, as though it too has settled into the stillness, no longer separate from the space around it. The table, the chair, the railing, all seem to hold less weight, not because they have changed, but because the quiet around them has deepened. Inside, the faint ticking of the clock is no longer heard. It may still be there, but it does not reach this place anymore. Time feels different now, not slower, not faster, just less present. Another breath comes, and then goes. In, out, the pause lingers. The body remains still. Even the smallest movements have faded completely. There is nothing left to adjust, nothing left to settle. Everything has already arrived where it needs to be. The rain continues, soft, even, unbroken. It fills the space without taking anything from it. It rests on the surface of the night like a quiet layer, smoothing everything beneath it. The air feels steady, the temperature unchanged, the space unchanged, and within it, there is only this quiet balcony, this gentle rain, this slow and steady breathing that continues without effort as the night holds everything in a calm that no longer shifts, no longer deepens, but simply remains. The light has dimmed so gradually that its absence feels natural, as though it has simply softened into the night rather than disappeared. What remains is a faint, quiet glow that seems to come from nowhere in particular, just enough to outline the edges of the railing, the curve of the cup, the gentle folds of the blanket. The rain continues, unchanged, soft, even, endless in a way that does not stretch forward, but simply exists, moment by moment, without beginning or direction. The air feels slightly cooler now, though it does not move. It rests in place, wrapping gently around everything, holding the stillness without pressing against it. Your body remains as it is, unmoving, at ease. The chair beneath you feels less like something separate and more like a quiet extension of stillness itself, supporting without being noticed. Your hands remain where they have settled. There is no awareness of holding or resting, only a quiet presence where movement once was. Breath continues, in, barely rising, out, barely falling, and the pause between soft, open, unmarked by time. The cup on the table no longer draws attention. Its shape is there, faintly outlined in the dim light, but it does not stand apart from the rest of the space. It belongs to the quiet now, just as the railing does, just as the rain does. The city has disappeared into stillness. There are no more passing sounds, no distant engines, no closing doors. Only the rain remains, and even that has softened into something that feels less like sound and more like presence. A continuous hush. The sky above is deep and complete. There is no trace of color now, only a smooth, uninterrupted darkness that feels full rather than empty, holding the rain within it as though it has always been there. The balcony feels smaller now, not in size, but in awareness, as though the edges of it have gently blurred, leaving only what is immediate, what is close, what is here. The railing, the chair, the blanket, the quiet space between breath and breath. Another breath comes, and then it goes. It leaves no trace. It asks for nothing. It simply continues. The rain rests on the railing, forming a thin, quiet layer that does not drip or fall, but remains as though it has chosen to stay. Somewhere above, a faint drop gathers and falls, but the sound is so soft, it dissolves before it can fully form. Nothing interrupts the stillness. Nothing in Schneifel. The sense of time has nearly faded now. Moments do not feel separate. They do not pass from one to the next. They simply remain, gently overlapping, like the quiet pattern of rain that never quite begins and never quite ends. Your shoulders remain relaxed. Your hands remain still. Your breath continues, softer now, almost imperceptible. In, out, pause. And within that pause, there is only quiet. The kind of quiet that does not feel empty, but complete. The kind that holds everything without needing to change it. The light continues to dim, though it is almost unnoticeable now. The outlines soften further. The space grows quieter still, and everything, every surface, every breath, every faint trace of rain settles into a calm so steady, so gentle, that it no longer feels like something happening, but simply something that is. There is almost nothing left to notice now. And yet, everything remains. The rain continues, though it is no longer something that arrives or falls. It has become a quiet presence, a soft and steady layer that rests across the night, across the balcony, across the stillness that holds everything in place. It does not change. It does not begin or end. It simply is. Your breath moves so gently now that it feels less like movement and more like a quiet suggestion, something that happens without needing to be followed. In, so soft it barely forms. Out, so light it leaves no trace. And the pause between, open, still, unmarked. Your body remains exactly as it is. There is no sense of weight, no sense of position, only a quiet awareness that does not reach beyond itself. The chair is no longer felt. The blanket is no longer noticed. Even the railing, once cool beneath your fingers, has softened into the background of everything else. Nothing stands apart. Nothing calls for attention. The balcony, the air, the rain, the distant city, all have blended into a single quiet presence that does not shift or separate. The darkness is complete now, not heavy, not empty, just full. It holds everything gently, without edges, without distance. There are no lights left across the way, no windows glowing, no outlines of buildings, only a soft, even depth that stretches without interruption. The sound of the rain is no longer heard in pieces. It is not made of drops or patterns. It is something continuous, something whole, like a quiet breath that does not begin and does not end. Time has faded almost entirely. There's no sense of before, no sense of after. Only this, only here, only now. Another breath comes, though it is difficult to tell when it begins. And then it goes, though it leaves nothing behind. The pause remains, wide and still. Your hands do not move. Your shoulders do not shift. There is nothing left to settle, nothing left to soften. Everything has already become as quiet as it can be. And within that quiet, there is no need to notice anything at all. The rain continues, though it is no longer separate from the air. The air continues, though it is no longer separate from the space. The space continues, though it is no longer separate from you. Everything rests together, without edges, without distance, without change. And in that resting, there is only a gentle awareness, so soft it almost disappears, like the faintest trace of a thought that has already begun to dissolve. And even that faint trace begins to soften, not fading all at once, but easing slowly, as though it has nowhere else to go and no need to remain. The rain is still there, or perhaps it is simply part of everything now, no longer separate, no longer something that can be listened to, just a quiet presence that rests everywhere at once, without sound, without movement. Breath continues, though it is no longer something to follow, no longer something to notice, just a gentle, natural rhythm that happens on its own, rising and falling somewhere within the stillness, like a small wave that does not disturb the surface. In and out, so soft it almost disappears before it completes. The space holds itself. The balcony is no longer a place with edges or shape. The chair, the railing, the table, the cup, all have softened into the same quiet, the same calm, the same unbroken stillness that stretches without direction. Nothing stands apart. Nothing remains defined. The darkness is not something that surrounds. It is something that gently holds, without weight, without depth, without end. There is no distance in it, no near or far, only a soft, continuous presence that does not change. Another breath, or perhaps the echo of one. It passes so lightly that it leaves no trace behind, and the pause that follows does not feel like waiting. It feels complete. There is no longer a sense of time moving, no sense of moments passing, only a quiet stillness that remains exactly as it is, without needing to continue or conclude. The rain, the air, the space, the breath, all rest together without separation. And within that, even awareness begins to quiet, not disappearing, just softening, like something settling into its final, most gentle form. There's nothing to hold on to, nothing to follow, nothing to think. Only this quiet, steady calm that does not ask to be understood. A softness that feels endless, though it does not stretch. A stillness that feels full, though it does not contain. And slowly, without effort, without intention, even the sense of being here begins to loosen, just slightly, like a thread gently untying itself. Not gone, just softer, and softer still, until it becomes something so light, so quiet, so at ease, that it no longer needs to be noticed at all. Where are you drifting over tonight? Let the weightlessness take over your body. If this story helped you find peace, please consider subscribing for more nightly journeys. Sleep well, traveler.
you.